I don't know a better way to begin healing better than talking to people that know what you're talking about. So that's what we're here for. There's really not a program. It'll kind of evolve as it goes. And ultimately, it's for all of us to celebrate joy. And there was a lot of that. It continues. So, I guess I should tell you my name, not that it matters very much. I should. I'm John Carnahan's friend. My name is Gary. And so we have some very special people here this evening, so many that have come for so many reasons. But the first people that I'd like for you to meet and have the opportunity to talk to you is Rob's brothers and sisters up here. So if you guys would come up, everybody would love to hear from you.
Hi. Thank you all for coming. In 1961, the birth of Rob Carnahan surprised his 5 brothers and sisters. We're all older than he is, and I, as the older brother, was headed off to college in 2 years. Rob was still in diapers. As Rob was growing up, I knew that he was surrounded by the same family that I had been, a family that shared the love of education, art, and music. Rob achieved so many of his dreams, but now it's so tragic, unfair to have lost my baby brother who had so much more to give.
Hello, I'm David Carnahan. I was about 13 and a half when Robert was born. My parents gave him the name Robert Marbury Carnahan. His great-grandfather was Robert Marbury. So we had Robert, but for Robert we had Johnny and Davy and Susie and Jeannie and Carol. My parents' parents was getting rid of the name Lee, so we called her Carol. So this Robert became Robbie, of course. This Rob I hear about, I guess you know him better than perhaps we did. But it was a pleasure to sort of help my mom raise him. She was very efficient. But I learned how to give him a bottle. I learned how to burp him afterward with a diaper on across my shoulder. I learned how to change his diaper and aid with the diaper service. So that was the start. And recently the end was our gatherings at the lake in the summer. And Rob would say, yeah, we're going to the lake again, so I can be with my favorite people in the world.
Hi, everybody. I'm Susan. Susie to my family. And I was 11 years old when Rob was born. As a budding teenager, I was pretty self-absorbed, and I don't think that gave a lot of caregiving time to Robbie at that point in time. But there are 2 things that we shared more when we were adults, and that was career and kids. And we really did bond over those 2 things, particularly later in life. I'm a longtime Spanish teacher and was department chair, and so we would often share the various responsibilities and commiserate sometimes over some similar responsibilities that we shared. And then most happily, although I am 11 years older than he is, I had some later in life, and thankfully Rob and Karen had Alex and Addison, who were younger than my boy, because there was another crop of cousins who were 18 and older. And Rob was very consistent and did everything he could to be with us during school, during holidays, particularly the end of the year, and in the summers, traditionally, when he could get away. And it meant so much to me, particularly in my only son, to be able for him to bond with his younger cousins and do those crazy Christmas morning traditions of going down the stairs and make sure we're stuck into there. More on that later. But oddly, perhaps, because I did know him, I would come home from college and followed him, and I knew all the highlights that were going on in his life, all of the headlines. But it was during the pandemic, we started to meet Sunday afternoons in April of 2020 when our mom was still alive, and we continue to this day. And it was through those little sit-down family moments, the little things, just getting to know him as a regular guy. What are you going to be doing the rest of this week? But I really felt much closer to him. And yes, indeed, we did meet on Sunday, October 15th, just a few days before he left us. Thanks after that one.
It's so good to see so many faces here. I don't know a lot of you, but we all do share an affection for the huge loss. I'm Jeannie. I am number 4 out of 6, and my early memory was the baby Rob being born, and we weren't allowed to go to the hospital in those days and go to the maternity ward and, meet your sibling. So I think our father drove us to the parking lot, and Mom kind of went to the window holding Rob, and it's just, it's Prince, he's born. So it was a nice introduction. But I was again 9, and I had graduated from baby dolls to Barbie dolls around that time. But I was so happy to have a real live baby to still cuddle and play with and, again, help raise. But fast forward another, 9, 10 years, but anyway, so I'm a teenager. And he's like 8, and I'm in the basement, trying to get out with my boyfriend. And Rob comes downstairs, and he's like laying on the couch. He's, coming up with us on dates, watching television. And whenever he goes, it was he really wanted to do it, or if Mom and Dad sent him. But I loved watching everything he tried. Whatever he tried, from riding a bike to skateboarding to roller skating to having a dirt bike down on our grandparents' farm to the race cars to sports, and it was just like, what can't he do? And of course, his best thing was Karen and Alex and Addison. So thank you, Rob, for that.
Hi everybody, I am Carol, and I used to be the baby of the family, and 5 out of 6. And John and David had each other, Susie and Jeannie had each other, and then there was me. And then 7 years later, along came Rob, and I had a baby brother, and as you've all heard, we all had a baby brother, and we still have it. Not exactly where we won, but Rob, I know you're here. And then 20-some years later, we got a bonus getting Karen and Alex and Addison. My memory I would like to share is Rob was teaching at Dundalk High School outside of Baltimore, and he came up to Braddock Heights. We're on the porch with Mom and Dad, having dinner, talking, and he is laying out his plan for his music, his music career from teaching high school. And he was going to get his master's, get his doctorate, and he did. It was so amazing. And it's clear as a bell saying it now, I can just see it. And I'm sitting there thinking, okay, this is my little brother, yes, I know he's an adult, who did not excel in school until he was at Middletown High School, band, playing the trumpet, and look at him now, and looking at all of you all who are so important, and the students who are out there, which is the whole reason Rob did what he did. So anyway, thank you. And on that, I said I was also in charge of thanking you all, from the Carnahan and the Sawirowitz family, especially Karen and Alex and Addison. We're just so grateful for your love, for your support, your kindness, for Rob and all of his many, many talents. And as time goes on, we also know that you will continue to support and love Karen and Alex and Addison and each other. We're all in this together. I mean, we're all grieving. Everyone here is, or you wouldn't be here, I guess. And we have to take care of each other. So hug each other, laugh, smile, cry when you need to let the emotions out, and just enjoy the moment, because that is what Rob would be doing, right? So anyway, that's it from the Carnahans, and I know Gary's going to come back up, but I want to introduce you to our surrogate brother, David Zirkle, who grew up with us on Round Hill Road and drops Buzz still.
I was going to say my name is David Zirkle, and I'm the seventh of the six. Rob and I met in 1966 when we were 3 years old. He lived 3 doors up from us, and from that time we were joined at the hip. We did everything together. We had a rather idyllic childhood by today's standards. We lived in a beautiful area, and we spent our days inside, sometimes playing Hot Wheels and Stratego and things like that. But most of our days were spent outside. The sun came up and we went outside. And so there was a lot of shenanigans, there was a lot of Evel Knievel tricks, there was a lot of home run derby in the backyard, we did so many things together, and we knew it was time to come home for dinner when the bell rang, and we could hear it from on the block. And so that's how Rob and I knew each other. Rob and I both started as middle of the pack trumpet players. So I started as a trumpet player, Rob started as a trumpet player. And I will say this to the music students here. If there are any times that you struggle playing your instrument, how well you play your instrument does not define the musician that you are. That is Rob. He's a brilliant musician. A really shitty trumpet player. Brilliant musician. So, over the years, we both moved on, and he started his life in music, and I marveled at his trajectory. I marveled at his time from Dundalk High School to his time then at the University of Colorado, and then with a couple of side trips to Nacogdoches and Tahlequah, and then his time in Austin, to finally his time in Miami. And there have been several times in my life where I really really, really hoped that I would have Rob Kernan as a colleague. And we came close several times, but we blew it. And I will give all the credit in the world to the University of Miami for recognizing his musical brilliance and his beauty as a human being. Rob and Karen and Kristen and I are all rabid Baltimore Orioles fans, hence the really good spot. And we had a nice trip to Baltimore for a series earlier in the season, and then we had planned a trip for when the Orioles were in Detroit to play the Tigers, kind of late in the year. And I came down with COVID, and we had to scrap that trip. That was the weekend before we lost Rob. And I know he'd be happy with this time. But anyway, we have to realize that it's horribly sad that we lost Rob. Horribly sad. And as a celebration of life, as this is billed, I think we're all allowed to still be sad, but I think at this point it's best for us to remember how great it was that we had him in our lives.
So here's what we'd like to do. But I would like to read how I feel, and then we would like other people. Anybody that has anything you would like to say at all. I don't know about you, but to hear his family talk is helpful to me. It makes me feel who he was deeper than I could know. And so for me, it's kind of calming. It's hard to accept, but somehow that goes inside. And for me, it was my hope that this evening will help in some way. So forgive my poor reading of how I feel, but I'll do the best I can. The reasons for the death of someone we have grown to love and to rely on are unfathomable. Words fail to interconnect with each other, or to ourselves a deep feeling that lie in all of us who knew and admired Rob as a musician and a treasured friend. He was deeply and genuinely a fundamental part of our lives. Grief is an incredibly complex and personal experience, often accompanied by a mix of emotions: sadness, anger, confusion, and loss of understanding. Each of us will grieve differently. Some may want to talk about it, and some may prefer just to be left alone. It's important for each one of us to allow our feelings to be what they will be without judgment from another person. The experience of this celebration of Rob's life can be a powerful way to begin the healing process. The beauty of his life shines in each of us through our unique experiences and relationships that each of us had and cherished with our earthly time with him. A bourbon and cigar comes to my mind. The distinctive impact that our personal journey with Rob has revealed is a story filled with moments of joy, struggle, resilience, and especially love that we will all treasure and remember for the remainder of our lives. Our embracing of this journey with him will lead us to a new understanding of our place and our responsibilities as we go on living. Our personal reflection on his values, aspirations, and in many ways he inspired beauty and the understanding of beauty in countless ways to immeasurable numbers of people reveal Rob's profound thoughtfulness and kindness and the true meaning of beauty in our lives and our own. His legacy will continue to live through the many personalities he's touched and will remind us of the interconnectedness of all of us together in our continued journey. He made each of us a better person, a better teacher, and helped us to understand the need to treat all with respect and compassion. We all appreciate and are thankful for these precious moments. But it's with an unbearable awareness that those moments of life have passed. We seem lost in this emptiness that we feel without him on this earth. However, we are all so much better for having had a communication with him. He showed me that we cultivate love when we allow our most vulnerable and powerful selves to be deeply seen and known. And when we honor the spiritual connection that grows from that, we offer love, respect, and kindness. When I retired from UM, I admit I was more than a bit apprehensive that my time here at the school and the program and performance was completely over. Rob did not allow that to happen. He demonstrated all that I have described above, kindness, compassion, love, and made certain that I was always welcome back. Indeed, he made me feel I was a valued part of his team. I will continue to feel a part of his team, and I will renew my efforts to grow and try to better understand the responsibilities given. As I have stated before, I will continue to attempt to be worthy of his trust in me. Our great friend and mentor, David Maslany, wrote me an email several years ago, and I think it's appropriate to quote it now. David said, "There is indeed that empty feeling when last times happened. Music is curious stuff. It doesn't really exist until it's sounding. And then there's memory of it and the anticipation of the next time. When there will be no next time, there's a huge sense of loss. Our lives are mostly done. Yet, there is memory of high accomplishment and joy, deep understanding. We miss you, Rob. But we're grateful we had the opportunity to know and learn from you. So now, you live in our hearts as long as we live, and we are all so much better for that."
Right.
Okay. So I know a lot of people in this room. I'd like for anybody who would like to come up and talk. Everybody would love to hear from you because it will help someone else. I mean, I did it. So anybody that would like to come up, please do. If you don't, I'm going to sing a song.
Hello. My name is Alan McMurray, and I am the retired Director of Events from the University of Colorado. Rob was a former student, a former colleague, and a forever friend. I saw him growing in the early stages when his musical depth was emerging, and saw him continue to grow in every way throughout his life. He and I had some wonderful things together and things that I learned about him that I still remember dearly, and maybe you remember too. He loved his family most of all. Next to that, he loved his students and his friends. He also loved music dearly, but in that order. He also had other passions that I learned about: cars, cigars, wine, modernism, great art, and just about anything stylish. When I needed to buy a new car while I was in Colorado, and Rob was my colleague there, he insisted that I had to buy an A4, Audi A4. He would not let me even consider anything else. Showed me all the pictures, described what, went with me to the car dealership, and then when I finally broke down and I bought one, he said, "That's not good enough, you need to get a computer chip." So I talked with the people who make computer chips and found out that I could get it done by my dealership without giving up the warranty, and sure enough, I got an extra 50 horsepower from that computer chip. And Rob was delighted to remind me every time he got in the car with me. Those were great times and great joy shared. However, I didn't always please Rob. I have to tell you, there was a time that I terribly disappointed him. And that was when he wanted me to smoke a cigar. He tried the whole time that we were colleagues, and after that, to get me to do it, but I refrained. And Rob, sorry, I still have not smoked a cigar. I will not do that. Although I know he had other friends, dear friends, who would imbibe with him with great delight. We did share great bottles of wine, and Rob even saved one. We had purchased a bottle of wine together, and he saved it and saved it and saved it and saved it. He moved to Miami, still had it. And I was doing a guest conducting thing up in Tampa. He came up with it, made an appointment, and we sat down and we drank that great bottle of wine because he saved it for, I don't know how many years, Karen, a dozen maybe, just so that we could share it together. He kept his word, and we enjoyed it deeply. I talked to Rob Sunday before he died. I asked him how he and Karen were. He said, we're fine. And I think he felt he was fine. He also made everybody else feel fine. So when I left talking with him, I felt it's great to hear from my old friend again. And I had all those great memories that I shared with you now, plus more. Rob had a great impact on students at the University of Colorado and the other graduate students who were there. We had a number of graduate students who all have college jobs now, and part of that was not just because of their work with me, it was their work with Rob too, and the inspiration that he provided for each one of them. And he continued that at Texas, and he continued that at Miami. That was part of who he was. He loved students. He loved giving to them and enlightening them and hearing about their journey and encouraging them, no matter how they were. He would encourage their growth. And he always would begin by talking about students. I heard a lot about Craig McKenzie recently from him because Craig had been an undergraduate when Rob was there and is now the associate director here, just hired this year. And how delighted he was to have that connection for all of us. So I'm so glad I could be here. I came in from California, flew in last night. I'm so glad I could be part of this with you. But for Rob, I will forever remember him. He will still forever be my friend, as he will for all of us, I'm sure. Thanks for letting me talk. Karen, I love you.
So my name is Jerry Junkin from Austin, Texas. I had the great pleasure of knowing Rob Carnahan for I think 31 years. I met him when he was a master's student at the University of Colorado, and that began a friendship that lasted all these years. He came to Texas to study conducting. He later, because we felt so strongly about his as a human, we hired him. He was my dear friend and colleague for 13 years before coming to Miami. So I had the privilege last night of having dinner with Gary Green, and he let a few of us know that this was going to happen today, that people could speak if they so desired. And it's not that I feel that I have to always talk, but I did feel like this morning when I got up, I needed to write down some thoughts. So I'm going to read them, if you don't mind. It sounds slightly formal, I suppose, but I didn't want to trust my improvisatory skills here. So I just want to say a few words about Rob Carnahan. Husband, son, brother, father, extraordinary musician, amazing conductor, inspiring teacher, friend, and confidant. Deep musicianship, duty, decency, reliability, honor, dignity, love, respect. These are all qualities that Rob not only held in high esteem, but practiced every day during his time with us. He was actually, though some of the photos would indicate otherwise, a serious and disciplined man. But he could never resist the opportunity to have a laugh with friends and loved ones. We would often seek each other's advice, and of course he offered always great advice. He was absolutely the gold standard and a fantastic example of how to be a friend. I'm so glad that the Carnahan siblings are here because I got to know your parents actually in several visits to Austin. And John Carnahan said to me once, and Rob often quoted, one of the most important lines of my professional life, which is, "It only costs a little more to go first class." A longtime colleague of ours at Texas wrote to several of us a few years ago when he had been discussing the subject of karma. And he said, "Speaking of karma, I think that it is so important to continually remind ourselves that we are here for the students. And what we do and say can have a powerful impact upon their lives." It has been really wonderful to see the remarkable outpouring of remembrances spread across the pages of social media in testament to the impact Rob made on his students and friends, personally and musically. I never recall seeing anything like it. When I've been thinking about Rob the past couple of weeks, I can't help, if you'll forgive me for this, thinking about the movie It's a Wonderful Life. Because there's one line in particular that seems like it was absolutely written for him. And I think if I'm remembering it correctly, it goes, "Strange, isn't it? Each man's life touches so many other lives, and when he isn't around, he leaves an awful hole." So, right now, we all find ourselves in that awful hole. And in my all-time favorite book, Winnie the Pooh, Pooh famously tells Christopher Robin, "If you live to be 100, I want to live to be 100 minus 1 day, so I never have to live without you." Which is very sweet, but Pooh was a stuffed animal. And he couldn't really comprehend the fact that death does not in any way end a relationship. It only changes it. Stephanie and I, our hearts ache for Karen, Alex, and Addison, and all of Rob's family and friends. I already miss our phone conversations, and I wish there could be more, bushels more, but I thank God for every moment I was able to spend with and every memory that I have of Rob Carnahan.
I'm Steve, this is Todd, Damon, and Jamie. I didn't think that would happen so fast. The four of us met during our time in Ann Arbor. And we sought friends. And 20 years ago-ish, we created a group called the Quintet. I hope that everyone in this room will be able to feel the love and depth of friendship that the five of us have felt. The vulnerability that we shared together, the brotherhood, the real concern, the honesty, the forgiveness, the loyalty, has been beyond anything I knew that non-siblings could share. They say the depth of one's pain mirrors the depth of the love. And I can tell you, in us five, it will always be five. The pain has been immense. To Karen and the kids, we love you. To the family, we cherish you. Even though I don't know you, Rob cherished you. To all the musicians in here that knew Rob, you had a guiding light that was humble, that was kind, that was soft-spoken sometimes, that truly cared for you. And something else about Rob, he always continued to get better. And that's a lot of all of us, if we can just continue those great gifts that he shared with all of us. As an example, look at those pictures. That's us. That's That's not an accident that just showed up. We truly loved him. I know you all did too. I wish that you'll grieve in whatever way you do. I've been angry, I've been sad, I've been in fetal position, we had a great brunch, the four of us. Rob was there, though. Hurts. A lot. And that's okay. And we'll give back in the ways that he did, and we'll pass it on in the good ways. That's what I wish for everyone I know Rob would too. To Karen and the kids, I lost my mom when I was 14. I lost my dad when I was 19. It sucks. It hurts. You have a whole room. I want you to look around this room, you three, and stare around this room. Everyone in here will hold you up. You'll never be alone. I have nothing left to say except I love all of you, and I hope we pass that love on in a way that's tangible, that is honest, caring. I think Scott, I want to say something if you want to.
After that?
Anyway, it's a beautiful moment.
I can't say any more profound than that. It's true. But I feel like my life's a little diminished. But then I remind myself how much it was amplified by Rob and made better, and that outweighs the sadness. The beautiful thing about our friendship, we have so many friends in here, we're all so thankful for, but when I think about the fact that Rob's gone, one of the first things I thought of, I wish I had one more conversation before it passed. We somehow did a Zoom 3 nights before then, and were able to connect, and we talk pretty much every day, we're texting. But the thing I'm happy about is that we told each other we loved each other all the time. So I know he knew, and I encourage you all to do the same every day, because it's short.
Rob had this amazing ability with a huge personality to let everybody else be the biggest personality in the room and to make you feel that you were the most important one. He did it with students, he did it with his friends. And to be honest, there were many times that he kept us on the right track, so that might be a problem for us. He was a beautiful light, and seeing everyone in here, I know you felt the same light, and you felt the same way that we did when he was in the room. You were the most important person who we love God.
I'm not eloquent. Couldn't say the word right. I'm from Alabama, so that's pretty hard. Since this is a celebration of life, I thought I would just share one story. We all have thousands of stories with Rob, all of us in the room. And some you would definitely not want to hear, actually. But I'm going to tell one, and it's a little bit different. One of them mentioned that we had a Zoom, like we did a lot during COVID, just 3 days before. And it reminded me of a time when everyone was Zooming during COVID. I can't remember, Karen, if it was fall break or spring break or summertime. I can't remember when it was right now, but somehow in our conversations it came up that they were going to be spending a few days in Marco Island. And I said, are you serious? We're going to Marco Island. We're going to go and an island. And because you're away from people. And
And I said, well, what are you guys going to do? And he said, well, we're just going to stay in a hotel and we're going to just hang out and read books and just have fun. What are you guys going to do? And I said, well, we're going to rent an Airbnb, and it has a dock. And we might like rent a boat or something. He says, well, sure, we would love to come out for the entire day on the boat with you. And that's so Rob, isn't it? I mean, and he was always so happy to be around people. And the reason I'm telling the story is that because we did overlap that day, we spent the entire day on the boat with his family and my family. And it was a really special time. And I didn't really know, because I wasn't in Texas at the same time that you all were, some of these were. But I got to know the family more, and it just made me love Rob even more. And so we love you, and thank you for letting us share in his life.
Lastly, we called it the Quintet. If you look at our phones right now, it says Quintet Forever. That's our new text group, and it will never be forgotten. We're going to be toasting a cigar, Rob, tonight. I happen to own a cigar shop, and I brought a lot of cigars. So we're going to cherish that moment. Have a bourbon, have a glass of wine, have a smile. For Rob, we love you. We're very sorry for your loss.
Hi, my name is Eddie Lopez. I know a lot of people have been speaking from college perspective, but I was a student at Rob at University of Texas. And I got my freshman year, 2003. That was the second year that Rob has been there. And it's been that my freshman year, just to talk from that student perspective, I got in. I was from a small town in South Texas, and not a lot of people from my high school had gone to the university. And the moment I met Rob and auditioned and all that, I auditioned for Walmart Band, got in as a tournament player. I stepped into the office and I said, Dr. Carnahan, just so you know, I'm going to be visiting with you every week. And he said, oh, why? Well, I was like, well, I need to get to know you. I'm here, and it's going to be great. Trust me. And he said, every week? I said, yes. And the thing that changed my life was like, he said, well, my door's always open. I'm here for you. I know there's not many people from your town, and you're welcome. And every week, every Friday, we met, and got to visit. And that's the way he was. The unique perspective I had with Dr. Carnahan was, of course, I was a student who became a great mentor, but we also, after I graduated, I was a neighbor for 9 years, and we started a company that did a lot of music festivals. And then I started hiring Rob to do a lot of gigs and festivals. He got a lot nicer to me when I would hire him. But one of the great stories that we did this festival out in Round Top. It's an hour away from Austin. And one of the great stories is I drove him, I picked him up, I got him at the hotel, picked him up, and we were driving my car out there. I said, hey, I need to stop to go get gas. And when I started, I was driving and went to go get gas, and I reached for my wallet. I forgot my wallet. I'm like, shoot, I just hired Rob to come do this, and I'm going to have him pay for the gas. I said, hey, Rob, I got some, I couldn't negotiate with you here a little bit. I said, if you pay for the gas, I'll let you drive my car the rest of the way. He said, done. And it was just, Rob, throughout the years, it's always, answered texts, answered calls, been around every convention. It was amazing to be around him. Got to see Alex and Addison, of course, run around the field in Walmart Band many times. The last time I was actually here in Miami, we had a great dinner with Rob and Karen at one of the restaurants here in Miami. And it was just an amazing time. And at the end of the day, the thing that I always remember was his door was always open. He always had a moment, always shared time, and never was too busy to make you feel warm. So, thank you. Sorry for your loss.
Hi, I'm Jay Reese, recently retired from Frost here. We could and we have, and there are so many people here who could speak to what an amazing educator, musician Rob was, and astonishing, isn't the right word, right? But I want to just say two things, having worked closely with him. I came here to Frost a year before and worked with Gary for a year, and then was on the committee that hired Rob. And I had known Rob for many years as a colleague, in the profession. And but when he came to visit and we hired him, I was, like I said, I knew him, as a friend, colleague, sort of, in the profession. But once I got to really be working with him, I found out he was one of the most selfless educator musicians I've ever known. Somebody with such great charisma and would change the air in the room when he came into it. You know what I mean? That was him, and yet completely selfless. There was just no ego about it. And in our profession, that is rare. But what an incredible guy to aspire to. But I want to say this too, because my relationship with Rob was very different in this sense too. Those of us who are parents know that compliments are nice, but the best compliment is when somebody compliments your kid, right? Those of us who are fortunate to be parents, so that's the truth. And I have the most incredible opportunity and experience to have Alex in my band throughout her undergraduate experience here at Miami. And I would find Rob any chance I could to say, that kid here is fantastic. She's awesome. And that seemed to make his day, and I understood that as a parent myself. There are a lot of band directors in this room. And if you've had the kid of a band director in your band, that can go one of two ways. that can really go south. And I've been that guy too. But I just cherish that I had the opportunity to work side by side with Rob here at Frost. And I just cherish that I got to know Alex and have her as my student. He changed my life twice in that way. God bless you, honey, and family. I'm heartbroken for you. God bless.
Thank you.
Well, there's probably something we all share. And first of all, I'm Rob's best friend. And I'm sure everybody out here feels the same because he was that way. And we're probably all shocked and angry about this. So I'm going to go on and voice that today. I will tell you that when I first came to Colorado, Alan was great to greet me, but Rob called me up and asked me if I wanted to have a beer. The first one to welcome me, and we put our two bands together at Colorado State University and University of Colorado. And we played America the Beautiful because it was written in Colorado. And for just a little moment, 75,000 people put their arms around each other and were Coloradans. And then Ralphie ran and all hell broke loose after I came on the show. But Rob and I became fast friends there. And I will tell you one of the things that I treasure so much about him, because, he believed in excellence, right? You might notice that there's some of the giants in the profession here. If he could say something that this band of brothers over here, the Rob was part of that band of brothers, and the three of the giants here all wanted to bring him in as a colleague with Jerry, and of course at Alan at Colorado, and Gary at Miami. We all wanted him here. I think it says something about it. His excellence, his artistry was amazing. But most of all, his humanity is what we love him.
And so he was a lot of things, an artist, an educator, musician, a bourbon connoisseur. I will say there's one thing that I was always a little jealous of as an administrator. I saw his student evaluations and they were fantastic, which is extremely rare. But most of all, he was a family man, and one thing that my wife and family knew about him, because we lived down the street and we shared a lot of good times together, is he loved Addison and Alice and Karen. And we love you too.
My name is Roy McLaren, and I have had the distinct pleasure of being Dr. Carnahan's student for the past 4 years. I'm a master's here, and this is my 3rd year in my DMA. And for him, I'm going to do this unscripted because for the past 4 years, he's always told me to do my defenses and all my presentations unscripted. So if this goes poorly, you can blame him. Over 4 years, I've learned a lot. I've recently started compiling what I've learned from Dr. Carnahan. And some things have stuck out to me that I think also emulate the type of person who he was. And so I just want to share those with you. The first one being, and it's a story from my wife who also did both degrees here. Yes, we like him a lot. She was a clarinet player and she was the band. Like everyone else at the beginning of the year, he always knew every single band student just to get to know them. And this was 2020, so my first year. That summer, my father-in-law had passed away unexpectedly with a brief battle with cancer. And so obviously that weighed heavily on my wife's person. And she went into that meeting and she told me, she's like, I'm not going to cry, I'm going to be strong. And she said that she got in there and he asked, well, how's it going? And she said she just broke down, ugly crying. Like just couldn't, for too long she sat there just weeping. And finally she got herself together and she apologized. And he told her there was absolutely no reason to apologize, that the feeling that she felt was real. And that real feelings need to be expressed. And that's the kind of human he was. That even those feelings that are hard and that we don't want to feel, we need to feel them, especially as musicians. And even though that's her story, she wasn't able to make it tonight. I wanted to share it because I also learned a lot through that. The second one was, if you had the pleasure of being at the last National CBD Conference where UM performed, it was a pretty spectacular performance, one that has stuck with me for a long time, and that a lot of people have praised. And I will tell you, as a TA, we had a lot of different feelings going into that conference, having to put it together. The other TAs who were here, who were a part of it, it was a lot. Several commissionings, several guest artists, several student artists, several rappers and sopranos, and all of this that just we spent a year for it, and honestly, by the leading up to it, we were just kind of over it. We were just like, let's get this done. But I was sitting there and I was watching, and I watched that concert, and I remember just being stunned by the concert. Because that was really the first time we put the music together. We had done a dress rehearsal, I think, the night or two before, but I remember thinking, this is just a really long program. And not really appreciating, but then sitting there in that audience, in that environment, with all the other collegiate band directors, and realizing the true artistry of what he had put together. And that was the kind of artist he was, the kind of risk taker he was, the visionary that he was of what it meant to lead people into something that was going to take a lot of time, money, effort, but at the end of it was something that we all walked away with just being better people for. And so that was the kind of artist he was, and that I take away from him. And then the last story I want to share with you was a more recent one, was when I was coming back from my DNA. I had a conversation with him, and I told him, okay, I'm coming back for another 3 years, 5 years total. I want to do something big. I want to do a big project. And he kind of gave me a look, and I said, said, I want to take a Frost group of students to Austria. And I want to go there, and I want to perform, and I want them to take lessons, and I want to immerse ourselves in chamber music and all this. And to his credit, he did not say no. What he did say, though, was two things. He goes, you have to plan it. And he wanted to go to the eatery with us. And check. And those things, he did go with us, and it was this past summer. Those are some of those cherished memories I will have with him, of drinking here in Salzburg and in Vienna with him, and just talking about music. But that was, him not saying no through that entire process. He trusted me. He believed in me. He guided me when I needed it. He let me be who I was as a person and as a musician and as a student. And that was the kind of teacher that he was. There was rarely a lesson that I went into that he didn't ask me what if you did this? Or what would happen if you did this? He was never the one to tell me what to do, or to tell me, to give me the answer, to force his opinion on me. And I remember early on thinking, this is really annoying, why don't you just help me? He's my teacher, he should just give me the answer. But then it took far too long for me to understand that he was a superior teacher because he was forcing me to be my own teacher. And he was allowing me to be independent, and yet being there to support me and guide me and love me. And I love him for that. And so, to Dr. Carnahan, thank you for being an example of a great human being, a great artist, and a great teacher. Thank you.
In our studio, because Roy's the elder statesman, we pretty much make him go first on everything. So he just kick the door down. Thinking about lessons that we learned from Dr. Carnahan, you talk about the lessons, the formal hour block of time when there's a lot of question posing, a lot of probing our brain, and then, like the Austria trip, our own projects, he would motivate us and encourage us to run with it, to be self-starters and not be prescriptive, but to get to know us, what drove us, and then open doors for us and encourage us to run with it. Thinking back to that CBMA concert, 2023, I was in the audience watching the concert as somebody who had auditioned at Miami, but had not finished the process and decided, and was just on the fence about a few things. And it would be a really great story to wrap it up and say that performance sealed the deal, and that was amazing, and that's a nice way to tell a story. And while it definitely helped, it was an element, one part of who Rob Carnahan was and continues to be in our memory. Incredibly high artistry. All of us know, whether we're friends or colleagues or students, incredibly high musical standards, but that was just a portion of who he was and his influence. Talking with my wife, when we decided to come here and move here to Miami, it was beyond the musical resources of the studio, the school. It was for the person, for the teacher that Rob Carnahan was. And that includes things beyond the job. That includes knowing how great of a friend and how great of a colleague and how great of a family man he was. And if there's anything I can offer to Karen, Alex, and Addison, it's that know that part of what people saw in Rob Carnahan was how amazing of a family man he was. And that is something that I look up to and continue to be inspired by. Something that Professor Green talked about that stuck with me and was always something that I noticed was that he wanted everybody to be on the team. He wanted everybody on his team, but it wasn't about himself. Like I was mentioning, it was selfless. It was for them to be included. And I'd never quite seen somebody who, not only in interacting with students or with a boss or with a colleague or with a friend, as has been said multiple times, made them feel like the most important person in the room and made them feel like they were on his team. And that's something I'll always carry with me. Lots of us in the room here would consider ourselves one of his students. And there's the things that in a formal teacher-student relationship, you learn these lessons. But then there's also the lessons you learn just from the example of a life well lived. And I think that's something that can unite every person in this room. So I want to thank my teacher, because in our formal lessons, I saw that personal investment one-on-one. I was used to that from my master's teacher, Jamie Nix, who was always so devoted to me and wouldn't interrupt our lessons for anything, unless it was a group text from the quintet. But he was that invested in you all the time. And so I won't take just the lessons that you taught me, but I think all of us will take those lessons from his example of a life well lived.
I'd just like to share with you some words that I wrote on behalf of Rob and shared with the Faculty Senate. You may already know this, but Rob was a model teacher and the recipient of this year's 2024 Philip Frost Award for Excellence in Teaching and Scholarship. The Frost School of Music's most prestigious award bestowed by his colleagues. Upon receiving this award, Rob stated, "Knowing that my colleagues are the source of the Frost Award makes this one of the highest honors to date. Helping students find their voice and way through life has been and remains my mission. I dedicate this award to the thousands of students I've had the honor of working with, from my first days as a high school band director to the current academic year here at the Frost School of Music. I have observed his support for students extending well beyond the classroom, mentoring them personally and collectively, and providing them with networking and social opportunities with superstar composers, conductors, and performers in the band world. He commissioned young composers who have gone on to great fame, and old ones too. One of his quotes was, "I love all music, but specialize in commissioning and premiering new works for the wind ensemble medium." On top of his strenuous workload of conducting a major ensemble and shepherding students from undergraduates to DMA dissertations, Rob was a caring and kind chair of the instrumental performance department. I would like you to imagine 24 of the top musicians in the country on their instruments, and then imagine what it takes to manage their different personalities and the potential for turmoil. Despite these challenges and inevitable friction, Rob always tried to address everyone's concerns and build opportunities for the good of the school, the faculty, and the students. He protected his faculty whether they knew it or not. Rob was a willing friend to everyone who needed one. He made everyone feel special and valued, and built strong relationships on and off campus in the Frost community and beyond.
I'm Tina DiMaglio. I'm probably going to cry for most of this, so bear with me. Dr. Carnahan often told me that I talk too much, so I'm sorry, Dr. Carnahan, but you'll have to listen to me talk a little bit more. Last week, I pulled out Miss Lanka's Illumination for my wind ensemble to read. I recently learned that they had never played course, this was a travesty that I had to rectify as fast as possible. I started taking them through the piece as a sight reading exercise, and of course there were intonation issues and some confusion about how to handle fermatas and some looks of panic when we got to the fast section. We spent about 30 minutes chunking through the piece, and then I decided to end our time with that piece with a large section. And on that last time through, the musicians were feeling pretty comfortable with the music, and we started to settle into the presence of performance, myself included. And I was suddenly acutely aware of my gesture, my facial expressions, my stance, and all of it was mirroring my teacher. I don't often feel like I look like Dr. Carnahan. I certainly don't look like him, but as a conductor, I often don't feel like I look like him because he didn't push for that. In fact, one of the things I appreciated the most about being his student is that he allowed and encouraged us to maintain our style, to maintain our personality, our individuality, our musicianship. But there was something about this moment last week, just a few days after I heard the news, that reminded me of Dr. Carnahan's impact. And it's much deeper than I can articulate. His influence literally lives in my body. It has become a part of me, and it affects the musician that I am every time I step onto the podium. Even deeper than that, it affects who I am as a person. Dr. Carnahan would often need to remind me to let others speak in seminar, or to slow down the feedback that I was giving to the ensemble, or to tone down my Philly accent so that I could be understood. But he did it in a way that was caring and authentic, in a way that only a true mentor could do. He did it clearly, kindly, and always with his students' best interests at heart. I know that I'm not alone in feeling Dr. Carnahan's impact so acutely in the past 2 weeks. It hurts deeply. But it's also reassuring to know that his legacy literally lives on in minds, hearts, and even perhaps the conducting gestures of his students, colleagues, and friends. I think I speak for many of the students when I say, Dr. Carnahan, if you are here today, rest assured that we will do our best to not embarrass you.
I wasn't going to grab the microphone, I got to tell you, because I really had a difficult time with this, like I'm sure many of you have had. In fact, I couldn't really come out with words, and I just said no words to a lot of people when I learned about Rob Liebowitz. I have to tell you that he told me that I was his best friend. He told me many times I was his best friend. I was fortunate enough to be, I think, one of the first to him when he came to town, because we had a mutual friend, and that friend said, hey, look out for my friend, because if he doesn't know anybody down there. And I said, I will. And then we started this little maestro conducting clinic, and I invited Rob to be a part of it the first year we started it. And I said, hey man, we're going to introduce you to everybody in Dave, Broward, and Palm Beach. It's going to be great. And we kind of just hit it off since then. I'll tell you, in listening and looking at everybody that's here tonight, I'm going to encourage you to tell the people that have made an impact in your life, get them and tell them that they made an impact in your life. I'm going to be forever missing that because Rob, a great friend to me, I didn't get a chance to tell him that. But we spent a lot of great times together, and I had a lot of great times. In fact, just this past FMEA, when he was conducting the Fort Hall State Band, I was in his room until about 3 in the morning. just so you know. But he was a champion the next morning when he went to his rehearsal. In fact, I told him he should be, because I'll be in bed sleeping off the bourbon and cigars that we had that evening. But I look at the pictures and I look at everybody else, and 3 words come to mind when I see this man that impacted my life and the way I wish I could have told him, and that's why I shared the word with you. And that is live, you gotta love, and you gotta laugh. And I did a lot of that stuff with this guy.
I'll try to hold it together. I just want to tell everybody about one of the more recent lessons I learned from Rob. I had a really big dining table. I just moved here to Miami a couple of months ago. My wife and I were trying to fill up our house with new stuff. And my wife reminded me about how when we were students here, we were always welcome to Rob's house. Karen and Rob would have us over for Thanksgiving, for Christmas, when we couldn't make it home. We would go over for our aesthetics seminars, and we would talk about what we found beautiful in the world, and we would share bourbon together, and we would share wine together, and I'd always try to get them to drink some rum. But my wife and I bought a big dining table, and we're going to be that now. That's the lesson we learned. So if anybody needs a place to be at Thanksgiving or at Christmas, come over to our house, and we will raise a glass of bourbon to Rob, and then I will have some rum.
Hi, everyone. My name is Christian. I like to kind of live in my own bubble sometimes. And I'm a very introverted person, and Rob used to tell me that that's great, but you can't do that in this profession. So here's me practicing a little bit more vulnerability and public speaking. But Rob took a chance on me in 2015. He and I had never met before. I was just a public school band director in Colorado, applying for grad schools because I was kind of in between jobs. And he offered me the opportunity to come study with him and earn my master's degree in the first couple of years of his time here at Miami. And it is no exaggeration if I say that I would not be the person I am, the musician I am, or even where I am today if it weren't for his influence and that gesture he extended to me to come to Miami and study with him. Over the course of my years at Frost, Dr. Carnahan inspired me daily. He encouraged me to take risks and be vulnerable as a musician and artist. They challenged me to think deeply about the nature of conducting large ensembles and music education. He supported me in all of my musical endeavors and was always available to lend an ear, offer his perspective, or provide some levity at unexpected moments. I remember I once, before I stepped on stage to conduct the Frosted Ensemble for the final time before I graduated, asked him if he had any last minute words of advice, and he just looked at me, smiled, and said, "Don't F it up, Christian." I learned so much about music and conducting from teaching from Dr. Carnahan. But what has stuck with me the most was the lessons he taught me about life, about love, family, eventually about fatherhood after my son was born. If you ask anyone who knew him, they'll tell you that he was one of the most genuine dudes you've ever met. He was kind, honest, generous, loving, humble, so much more. And all of that came through in his relationships and in the music that he made every single day of his life. I'm truly blessed to have had the privilege to study with him.
carry every single lesson that he taught me for the rest of my life. I will always cherish the conversations we shared over cocktails and cigars and the myriad meaningful lessons he taught me about music and life. When him and Karen signed the guest book at our wedding, the simple message they left for my wife Jamie and I was, live in love. And I think that's what he did every single day. I think that's just generally good life advice for all of us. We love you, Dr. Carnahan.
I'm Kim. And you guys knew him longer than I did. So you were the lucky ones. But you know, I loved him. But more importantly, he always let me know that he loved me. I never met him that he didn't give me a hug. And I never left him that he didn't hug my neck and often give me a kiss on the cheek. And I don't let just every man kiss me on the cheek. So he passed and he killed me. But a few days later, during a wind ensemble concert, a little verse came to me, and I want to share it with you tonight, and it's called, "Oh, little brother. Oh, little brother, you ran so fast, too fast to the other side. So what would you tell me now? Would you tell me, don't worry, it's all okay? Better than I imagined. Is it all about the colors? Is it all about the sounds? Or something altogether new no one has ever found? Can you see me, little brother? Can you hear me still somehow? Can you see me in these blacks and blues that I'm wearing now? I miss you, little brother. I miss your smiles and hugs. And though I couldn't keep you here, I'm holding you in love."